Hello, you beautiful truthers and truthettes. How are you doing? Today I'm going to continue talking about biases and filters and stuff that we have, but on a practical level. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So let me start by giving you a sentence which I'm going to come back to. And that sentence is, bide your pash. Okay, I'll explain that later on. So, social controls and social biases. Well, I've told this story before, but I'll do a very, very quick overview of it. So this little man is in a village with his son. He's a farmer and they're very poor, extremely poor. And one day, a stallion comes into the field, just a wild stallion comes into the field. Well, they are worth a lot of money. His son catches it and all the neighbors say, isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, great news. You're gonna have money, you'll be able to sell that and you'll be really rich and it'll be wonderful. And the little man said, well, maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe it's good news, maybe it isn't, okay? And so the next day the son goes to train the horse and the horse throws him off because it's a big stallion and he breaks his leg. And all the neighbors say, oh my God, this is such bad news. Now what are you going to do? Your son works, you're old, your son's doing all the work, he's got a broken leg. What's going to happen? You're not going to be able to work on your farm. Such bad news. And the little old man said, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then the very next week, the king's army come into the village to recruit for the war that they would go to and never come back from. And so they didn't take the farmer's son because he had a broken leg. And the neighbours said, this is fantastic news, it's brilliant, your son's not going, that means he's not going to be killed in the war, fantastic news. And the man said, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Okay, so that's the story. So let's get back to the biases. I was listening. I've got a few audiobooks that are all talking about, control, social control and stuff like that. I like to listen to them. Although I'm starting to see a pattern. Like, I know all of them. There isn't one that I think, oh my God, I haven't heard that before. Yeah, I have. But what I was doing was, as each of these biases and these controls came up, I was kind of trying them on to say, is there an area in my life where that's affecting me or whatever? And in some cases, yes. In some cases, I thought, yeah, this is something I'm going to have to be careful with. But in many cases, no. I was thinking, no, that's not a bias that I've got now. Not anymore. And there's one that stood out called the familiarity bias. I mentioned it last time. Whereas when you see something enough times, it becomes familiar and you trust it. You trust it. And they've tried this with studies in which they get people to decide on whether something's true or not. And it was all random, but they kept repeating just certain sentences. Is this true? Is this true? And at the beginning, people were saying, well, true, false, it was neither here nor there. But at the end, because of the repetition, they started saying it was true, just because they'd seen it a number of times. This is this familiarity bias. Things become more trustworthy. And I thought, not for me. Not for me. In fact, the more I see something, the less trust I have in it. I become very untrustworthy, not as a person. I don't trust things, but it's not fear-based. Like, oh no. It's just, no. I'm not sure about that. This is where I found myself. Now, this is something that I've noticed is been happening over the last few years of like, no, I'm just not sure about that. So I was talking to the emissaries about this and I was saying, some of the biases, yeah, I know that I've got, but other ones I feel, no, I think I've kind of like gone beyond that. I can see beyond that bias. And they said, good, because that's part of the journey. This is the journey that we're on. The journey that we're on is to overcome all of these biases and for us to see, and this was the bit that they said, for us to be able to see that the reality that we are perceiving is not reality. It's not real. That's what they said. And obviously all of these biases are getting us to perceive things that don't exist, and it's more important to understand that these biases are getting us to believe things that don't exist. Okay? Very important. So what I am finding is that when I'm seeing something repeated, lots of people talking about it, it's kind of incumbent on me to step back, to take a pause and to say, right, hang on a minute. Why is it that I'm seeing this all over? Why is everybody talking about it? You see, I don't believe that anything goes viral by accident. I don't think that people talk about things by accident. And yes, I do believe there's a plan, and I do believe that these things get rolled out, but I also think that the baddies roll stuff out, and I think there's tremendous overlaps, and it's very difficult to perceive where the truth lies. Impossible, in fact. And so the emissaries were saying that's exactly the case, that humankind does not have the capacity to be able to perceive reality and truth. And they said, for two reasons. The first reason has to do with the filters that we have. We just don't have the acuity to trust the information that comes in through our filters. I remember hearing a man talking about this, talking about a study where they found that 80% of the information that comes in is distorted, deleted, or changed. 80% of the information that comes in. So the emissaries were saying, that's number one, we don't have the capacity. And then they said this one, but number two, the reason that we have to be careful with what we believe to be true is that they said we don't have the capacity to understand what's happening because we don't have access to the overplan of what's happening. You know, we're in the details, we're in the mud, we're in the thick of it. We can't see the big plan. And so when we look at something, we're seeing it in extreme isolation. And so if we make decisions based on what we're seeing, what we believe, based on that very limited view of the plan, and also based on all the filters that are going on, disaster. It's a disaster. We will get hold of the shitty end of the stick every single time. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is this. We have to bide our pash, coming back to that sentence. My friend who lives in Seaham, yes, near Sunderland. And he used to say when we were working together, because I was always a bit sort of, I want to get this done. Let's just do it like this. And he used to say, hey, bide your pash. Bide your pash, which I think is, hold your horses. That's what we have to do. And if we wanted bide our pash translated into something nice, well, the emissary said, don't be precipitous in your decision making. So withhold your judgment on something. When something happens, doesn't matter what, when somebody says this is the case, or when somebody says this isn't the case, when Trump does something, when Macron does something, when the media says something, bide your pash. Wait. Don't make a decision. You don't have to. This is the beautiful thing about it. You don't have to. You know what we have to do? All we have to do is wait. And these days, because of the speed of everything that's happening, we probably just need to wait about a week. And we'll know more or less what that was about. Maybe in a month. Maybe we have to wait a year. But we'll know what that was about. When you make a decision, remember, when you make a decision, you create a belief. When you create a belief, your mind will then work to make sure that you keep it. So every belief that you have it makes you a little bit more of a prisoner. And that sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But effectively, you're in prison. Every one of your beliefs keeps you in prison. Because your mind is going to fight to keep them. Just as it's going to fight to keep you comfortable. And so getting comfortable in discomfort is a good thing. It's a good thing to do. stretch your comfort zone as much as you can so that you can be comfortable in outer-lying regions. Because if not, your mind's going to try and keep you in that little... That's why the comfort zone gets smaller and smaller. It's like, well, I'm comfortable. I'm only comfortable here, sitting in my chair, watching the TV and eating a pizza. That's what we don't want. And I'll come back to it. The very, very important idea of all of this, knowing what we are, knowing the weaknesses that we have in terms of our capacity to perceive. Don't argue with people about your beliefs. Don't argue. Don't get caught up in arguing about what you believe to be true, because it probably isn't. Right? And as long, and it's not a bad thing. It's not like saying, "Oh, well, what's the point? If nothing I believe is true, what's the point?" No, the point is that we go through our life learning new things. When you get stuck in your beliefs, you will never learn anything else. You won't learn anything else because you've got a belief. No, I believe it to be true. Don't come near my beliefs. No, keep it open. That's why I like to say to myself, and it's like a reminder, I think this is the case, but maybe it isn't. Yeah? All of the evidence suggests that this is the case, but maybe it isn't. And it just keeps you safe. It just keeps you free out of the little prison that our mind wants to put us in. And it's our mind, it's your mind, but it wants to put you in a prison. Don't let it. Get the get out of jail card, which is, and maybe it isn't. Who knows? That's all you have to add onto everything. And who knows? Hey, it could be something else. That's it. Get out of jail card. You're free. Free. You're a free thinker. How beautiful is that? What do you think? Do you use the get out of jail card and say, well, I'm not entirely sure? Or do you prefer to say, no, I know this for a fact? What is it that you know for a fact? And what is it that you're unsure about? That's all. Put all of that in the comments. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.